Hello, my name is John, and today we'll be reading Mr. Nunes Went to Washington. Officialdom doesn't grasp the direct manner of a Central Valley native son. By Victor David Hanson, Washington Times, June 8, 2017. Victor David Hanson is a classicist and historian with the Hoover Institution at Stanford University. Representative Devin Nunes, California Republican, the now controversial chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, is a bit different from Washington expects in its politicians. He grew up in the agricultural cornucopia of the Central Valley of California. Fruits, vegetables, beef, dairy products, and fibers, the concrete expression of a myriad of hard-working ethnic groups. Their diverse ancestors fled poverty and occasional horrors in Armenia, Basque Country, Greece, Japan, Mexico, Portugal, the Punjab, Southeast Asia, and the Oklahoma Dust Bowl. Central to this mix of immigrants, farmers, and ranchers is a valley culture of pragmatism, bluntness, and tenacity. Of all these groups, none are more unabashedly patriotic and outspoken than the Portuguese immigrant dairy farmers, most from the islands of the Azores. I live in rural Fresno County at the juncture of three congressional districts. All three are currently represented by Portuguese Americans from farming families and from both parties. Mr. Nunes, 22nd District, my own representative, Dave Valado, Republican, 21st District, and Jim Costa, Democrat, 16th District. All three keep getting rejected for their accessibility getting reelected, for their accessibility, informality, and commitment to the traditional values of their districts. Mr. Nunes became a controversial public figure nationally when he revealed that the surveillance of foreign governments by American intelligence agencies may have resulted in the inappropriate monitoring of members of the Trump transition team, and perhaps some private citizens too, and the unmasking of their identities. What followed this disclosure could have mirror-imaged the script of director Frank Capra's classic film, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. It all started when Mr. Nunes said he had received unsolicited information of wrongdoing from one or more whistleblowers. Unfortunately for Mr. Nunes, he approached complaints of improper surveillance in a Central Valley sort of way, but a most un-Washington manner. Instead of the usual pattern of leaking the whistleblower's information to friendly media and of course denying that he was source of the leaks, Mr. Nunes went ballistic and, heaven forbid, public. Mr. Nunes first notified House Speaker Paul Ryan of his intention to bring information to both the President and the public. He then held a press conference to reveal the potentially inappropriate monitoring, then told the President himself that some of his associates may have been swept up in potentially improper surveillance and leaking conducted by bureaus that fall under the executive branch. Mr. Nunes also served subpoenas to the National Security Agency, CIA, and FBI. The result? Suddenly, Mr. Nunes himself became the object of Washington vituperation for not immediately informing House Democrats about the potentially inappropriate monitoring. Mr. Nunes was targeted by progressive activists and investigated by the House Ethics Committee, which has thus far not released any findings of improper behavior, apparently because he went public and is now viewed as a partisan of Mr. Trump. Mr. Nunes next announced that he was temporarily delegating his leadership of the House Intelligence Committee as it investigated charges of collusion between the Trump administration and Russia. In melodramatic fashion, Mr. Nunes was said to have recused himself from all committee leadership, but he really did not. Recusal is a legal term that denotes disqualifying oneself due to conflict of interest. Instead, Mr. Nunes only took a temporary respite from leading a single investigatory thread of supposed Trump-Russian collusion. Was that a de facto dare for the committee to investigate what Mr. Nunes supposedly had blocked? The House Intelligence Committee has not interviewed a single witness for more than 2 months. Is that laxity because the committee so far has been unable to find concrete evidence of the Trump-Russia collusion? While some other members of the near-dormant House Intelligence Committee apparently have continued to leak information about the possible prospect of grand jury investigations of Mr. Trump and of forthcoming information about collusion with Russia, none of these stories has been accompanied by supporting evidence. Now, Mr. Nunes is back again, courting media outrage by pressing to subpoena 3 Obama administration officials: former National Security Advisor Susan Rice, UN Ambassador Samantha Power, and former CIA Director John Brennan, to explain whether they played a role in the improper monitoring of American citizens and the leaking of their names to the press. But strangely, this time around the media has been relatively subdued. Perhaps it's because the Russian collusion story went nowhere when Mr. Nunes temporarily assigned his investigatory leadership to others. Yet it seems that the explosive unmasking charges are at last being seriously investigated. The mainstream media has caricatured Mr. Nunes' bulldog bluntness in going public as naive and partisan, and they have predicted his demise as a committee chairman amid a climate of hysteria. Instead, Mr. Nunes seems unconcerned and plows straight ahead, in the fashion of dairy farmers from the Central Valley of California. This video is a production of the School of the White Crane. My name, John Brooker, and you can communicate with me through commentary on this video or through my Gmail listed here. Please share this video with family and friends and on social media. May God richly bless you.